So you're probably looking at the title. Jayson Tatum is a weird superstar. What does that mean? Well, I'm not really sure myself. I think it's just the best way I could rationalize my opinion on Jayson Tatum because something just feels off with him. In a previous video that we did where we talked about who's going to be the next face of the NBA post LeBron, a lot of people brought up the fact that we didn't even mention Tatum. And honestly, when we were preparing for that video, neither of us even thought about Tatum. And that's bizarre because looking at Tatum, he has all the hallmarks of a modern NBA superstar. He can shoot both threes and from the mid-range, he can attack the rim, he's got a good handle, he's a good defender, and he plays for one of the best teams in the league that's also one of the most storied franchises in NBA history. So why does it just feel like something's missing? Before we start talking about Jayson Tatum though, if you haven't already, make sure you drop this video a like, give us a subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on one of our videos. So just a heads up, this video is going to be heavily subjective because it deals with what an NBA superstar is, and that's a standard we all have our own definition for. And it's not really even going to be a negative video either because as a player, I think Jayson Tatum's really great. I just want to articulate how I feel about Tatum because I've been trying to figure it out for a while. And his game 1 against the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals was when I finally decided I couldn't put this video off any longer. Tatum certainly wasn't the biggest problem for the Celtics in game 1, but he certainly wasn't the solution either. On the surface, his stats look fine. 30 points on 52.9% shooting is nothing to sneeze at, but this game is one of those that proves you can't always trust the box score. Tatum only scored 6 points in the third quarter when the Celtics were outscored 46-25 by the Heat, and in the fourth, he was even worse, committing 3 turnovers and not even taking a shot. It's just the latest puzzling performance in what has become an increasingly erratic playoff run for Tatum. Oh, he's had moments of brilliance, sure. Game 6 versus Atlanta, Game 1 against Philadelphia, the fourth quarter of Game 6 against Philadelphia, and his magnum opus in Game 7 versus Philadelphia. But he's also had quite a few stinkers. Game 5 versus Atlanta, Game 5 versus Philadelphia, the first 3 quarters of Game 6 against Philadelphia, and last night. Now, players have off nights. It's not like he needs to hit his averages every game, but this playoff run, he's been more up and down than a goddamn roller coaster. You never know which Tatum you're gonna get. Are you gonna get the guy who at his best is one of the top 5 players in the world? Or are you gonna get the guy who scores 19 points on 5 of 21 shooting? Well, sometimes you get both in one game. Tatum's Game 6 against Philadelphia has to be one of the most perplexing games I've ever seen from a superstar. There's going cold, and then there's what Tatum did through the first 3 quarters where he was bordering on sub-zero. Tatum started the game 1 of 14 from the field, and he went into the fourth quarter having only scored 3 points, a free throw in the first quarter, and a layup in the third. But when the fourth quarter rolled around, he was spectacular. He scored 16 points in the fourth quarter and led the Celtics on a 14-3 run to put the game out of reach. Now, it certainly helped that the Sixers seemed almost determined to lose this game, but Tatum followed up that Game 6 with an even better Game 7. He poured in a Game 7 record 51 points, breaking a record that had only been set 14 days prior by Stephen Curry. In the third quarter alone, he poured in 17 points as the Celtics outscored Philadelphia 33-10 and put the game out of reach definitively, all while shooting over 60% from the field and committing 0 turnovers. Now, in both these games, Tatum was certainly helped by who he was playing against. Thanks, Doc. Thanks, James. But this is the problem with Tatum. The guy was just coming off an incredible fourth quarter performance in Game 6 and one of the best Game 7s in NBA history. And was anyone really all that worried about what he was going to do in Game 1 against the Heat? I certainly wasn't, and right on cue, he had another disappointing performance. And this is what I mean when I say something just feels like it's missing. If any other superstar had played the Game 7 that Tatum had, fans would be expecting the world from them in the next series. So why didn't people expect Tatum to take over this series? Is it just that he has a reputation of coming up small in big games? I mean, maybe, but I gotta be real, I don't really know why he has this reputation. Let's look at his playoff resume so far, and you tell me what series he didn't win that he should have. 2018 Eastern Conference Finals. Is Tatum, a 20-year-old rookie playing without Kyrie Irving, supposed to beat Thanos LeBron? No way. And even still, he took LeBron to 7. And he dunked on him. 2019 conference semifinals. Should they have beaten the Bucks? I mean, maybe, but that team was already on fire internally because Kyrie gonna Kyrie. 2020? Yeah, on paper, they probably should have beaten Miami, but it was the bubble. It was weird. 2021 first round against the Big Three Nets? Yeah, no. And finally, last year against the Warriors pre-punch. Also no. Now, in all these series that the Celtics have lost, could Tatum have played better? Yeah, of course he could, but honestly, I don't see where this rep of him being a playoff underachiever comes from. I think it comes almost exclusively from his performance in the finals last year against Golden State. And again, it wasn't great. He did, after all, set the NBA record for turnovers in a postseason, but he was playing against the Warriors dynasty in his first ever finals in a series that barely anyone thought they had a chance to win, so I can't judge him too hard for that. But I think the lack of expectations for Tatum have to do with one thing: fear. On his part and on his opponent's part. Superstars in the NBA garner a certain amount of respect and fear from their opponents. People are scared of Stephen Curry basically the moment he crosses half court. People are scared of what Kevin Durant can do, what Giannis can do, what Jokic can do. And despite what Mario Chalmers says, even in his 20th season, people are still scared of what LeBron James can do. Is anybody afraid of Jayson Tatum? Anybody? Honestly, I feel like people are more afraid of Jaylen Brown. A superstar should instill fear in his opposition. Even if his opponents don't outwardly show it, it's there. They won't ever admit it, but whenever LeBron and Steph have matched up against each other, both of them instill a little bit of fear in the other because they both know what each other are capable of. So why doesn't Tatum? Sure, he doesn't have a ring yet, but he's made an NBA Finals, he's still relatively young, and he's honestly got some pretty impressive performances to his name. Not only that, but this is a guy who openly acknowledges Kobe Bryant as his basketball hero. Kobe, a player whose ability to instill fear in an opponent is probably only topped by Michael Jordan. But as much as we all might want to be Kobe or Michael and have that killer will to step on an opponent's throat with no remorse, that's something you're either born with or you aren't. Let me put it like this. If Tatum was playing against one of his teammates in like the Olympics or something, let's say Al Horford, for example, if these two matched up in a competition, I really don't think Tatum is the type to, I don't know, put a hard foul on his teammate in order to set the tone. You know, something Kobe did literally 2 minutes into a game in the 2008 Olympics when he bulldozed Pau Gasol. Call me crazy, but I don't see Tatum doing that. Now, this is obviously a very extreme example because a lot of players wouldn't do this, but I think you get my point. Tatum doesn't have remotely close to the edge that Kobe had. Hell, he doesn't even have the edge that Jimmy Butler has, and boy, that was on display in game 1, wasn't it? But guys like Kobe and Jimmy, they weren't just feared by their opponents, because they themselves were also fearless. Watching Tatum on the court, he doesn't exude the confidence of a superstar. Now, he seems like a fine leader, but he lacks, and I really hate to use this phrase because it's so subjective, but he just lacks those superstar intangibles. There are so many times where he misses a few shots or turns the ball over a couple times, and he just seems to really quickly lose confidence in himself. But there are also times where he just seems unshakable. Sometimes in the same game, he pinballs from timid to uber confident so much, and as an observer, it's just maddening. Maybe his personality is just closer to a guy like Anthony Davis, a player with obvious superstar level talent who just can't seem to bring it out consistently enough. Again, I'm not trying to hate on Tatum because the guy is a phenomenal NBA player, and honestly, if you were going to design the ideal superstar for today's league, he's kind of it. And I also don't think that the Celtics have already lost this series to the Heat because honestly, I think it's more likely than not that Tatum comes out and plays a great game tonight. I mean, if the pattern holds, then he's due for a good game. And if there's one thing that Tatum has shown us this playoff run, it's that he's at his best when his back is against the wall, which again is maddening. Why wait until you're in deep trouble to start playing your best? Is it just a fight or flight response type of thing where when pushed to his limit, he responds the most? I don't know, but I mean, I fully counted out the Celtics after they lost game 5 to the Sixers. The way Tatum and really the whole team played outside of Jaylen Brown had me fully convinced they were losing game 6 in Philadelphia, and I was dead wrong. But even after that comeback and after game 7, something just still feels like it's not there. And hey, maybe it'll take him leading the Celtics to an NBA championship. Does he have that superstar persona somewhere in him? We've certainly seen flashes of it, and maybe he just needs that iconic performance that's going to be burned into people's minds when they think about Jayson Tatum. But until he gets that moment, for me at least, something's always going to feel like it's missing with Jayson Tatum. That's the video, guys. What are your thoughts on Jayson Tatum? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, why not leave a like, as it really does help us out. And while you're here, why not check out some of our other videos as well? And don't forget to subscribe to Synthetic Sports.